You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Polly Requa, interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Polly Requa. Today we're talking to Lisa Lewis, owner of Zoom Room in Lincoln. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Polly. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for being on the podcast.
Of course.
I wanted to have you back to discuss why it's so important to have dog training lined up if you are rescuing a dog over Christmas or buying a Christmas puppy.
Of course, yes. So just to get started, obviously getting a new dog at Christmas is so exciting. It can be such a fun time for your family. You know, just having a new pet in your home is such a magical moment, right? But remember, it's just like anything else. To have a well-trained, behaved dog, it takes some work. And so while it's fun to have that moment of excitement, don't forget that we need to put the work in with our dogs to have a dog that we can coexist with in a good way. Especially, a lot of families have small children, and so that makes it really tricky too. So let's just remember a few things. So if you're getting a brand new puppy, so those brand new puppies you're probably getting in at 8 weeks old, those are the prime developmental times for a puppy. So from that ages 2 to 4 months is critical that your puppy is getting new experiences. This is their prime time developmental stages, and we need to give them as many new experiences as possible. So what that means is you need to get them out in the world, have them meet new people, have them see different kinds of people, different kinds of things, all of that. But the key element is you really need to do it in a safe environment because your puppy isn't fully vaccinated yet. You don't have all the shots. So you can't be taking that new puppy to a dog park and having it exposed to lots of different things like that. So you need to find a place that you can take your dog in a safe manner. So a couple things you can do. Obviously, you can have your dog at home, have friends come over, have different people, different types of people come over. So your dog is meeting new people. The other thing is you can find a really safe puppy class. So this is super important. It's going to allow your dog to go somewhere that's safe, that you trust, and they're going to be looking out for the best interest of your dog. And you'll also, your dog will get to play with some other puppies in a safe manner. So what I would recommend is, doing a little research, finding a place that you trust that's going to be doing proper cleaning methods and, taking care of your dog in a proper way and get them enrolled in puppy classes. So those are a few examples of things you can do to help your puppy raise your puppy in a good manner.
Yeah, and I think it's really important. The first tip that you gave is having people come over because out of all the years that we've had dogs, one of the dogs that we did have, the breeder did not allow anyone to visit the puppies when they were little because in the past they had gotten parvo from people coming and viewing the puppies and bringing diseases. So that dog was so antisocial because, and it was a lab. You'd think that they would have outgrown it, but she never did. And so now with all dogs, whether rescue or, dogs that we've purchased, that I always make sure there's lots of neighbor kids and people because that's how our life is. the
Right.
girls are always going in and out. I'm always going in and out. And so you just want that dog to be exposed to as much stimulation as you can, and also creating a safe place like a cage or where, so that they can go and get out
Right.
of the madhouse. But
Exactly.
I think that that's really important because I have had dogs that are antisocial.
Right. And I mean, it makes such a difference and you don't think about it because you have this sweet little puppy who's sleeping all the time and everyone, you're just so thrilled with it. And then you kind of miss out on that opportunity to have it exposed to those new things. And I know everyone's life is busy and we think, oh, we don't have time to mess with this, but you have to, put in the time in order to have that happy dog later on in life. And you did mention the crate training. So, that's a big one that, everyone tells you about crate training, but when it comes down to it, sometimes it can be kind of tricky because your dog doesn't seem to like it. But it is super important to give them that safe place, help them understand that they can self-soothe themselves in that crate and give them a spot. So it's really important to work towards that crate training, even if it seems a little bit tricky.
Yeah. And also because we've rescued a lot of dogs and also our foster parents. One thing that a vet told me many years ago is in the beginning to just have that dog be like create your kitchen. So it's a large area or a mud room and keep it separated from your dogs for a while, like up to 2 or 3 weeks, because the dog needs to get used to your schedule.
Sure.
And so what happened was we were fostering a probably 8-year-old chocolate lab, and I had a golden retriever and a black lab. So I just let the dogs hang out together, and I went to work, came back at noon, and the chocolate lab had diarrhea all over the house. And it wasn't, it was just probably stressed, there was just so much room and they weren't used to it. And it was a lesson learned. So take that too.
Right. Well, and that is the other thing, especially with the rescues, you bring again a new dog into your home and you just have no idea what that dog has experienced in its life. Maybe good, maybe bad, you're not sure, but give it some time. Yeah. Take it easy. I know some people bring their dogs into us and they're like, we've had it for 2 days and it's acting strange. Well, I'm like, give it a little time. You have to give it the dog's time to get used to you. Yes. Keep it in a controlled environment. You don't want any dog really roaming around if you don't know what's going to happen. So giving them a controlled environment is always a good idea.
Yeah, I
and
had
if
no
you don't
idea.
have it, great. Exactly. Or baby gates are great. Find a room in your home that the dog can kind of make their own and give them some restrictions on their space is always
and it really doesn't take very long. My current pug could not stand being crate trained. And I think it's more because there were 2 other dogs. And so, they're kind of pack animals, pugs. And so they just wanted to be close to nap next to the other dogs. So that the crate training did not last at all.
But like a baby gate is great for that because you could give them a space in your home
did
where
that.
they're exactly. I know my dogs, when I'm gone, I have them in the laundry room. That's kind of like their hangout space because I don't really want them roaming the house, but that they can be together and it's it's kind of like their place and they're fine with it. So
yeah. And the other thing is one other tip I know, and we fostered dogs that didn't, and it was just more how they were socialized, but they were a 1-person home. They just were stressed. It was very interesting. They were stressed just being with my other dogs.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with the girls and I. It was more, they had just never been exposed to more animals.
Right. And I think that's really important to say, is some dogs, you have to work with what they're able to handle. And some dogs are only going to do good one-on-one or with one other dog. And, and you have to just understand that sometimes there's no like fixing a dog. You have to kind of work with the dog that you have. And that's really important too, to kind of, figure out what they're going to work with and what they can handle. And again, you just don't know some of the rescue dogs, what they've been through, and you just have to kind of work with them on their level.
And give it time. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast. And how can listeners get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can, if you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, you can come into Zoom room and stop in and see our space. It's really lovely. Give us a call or check out our website. So our phone number is 402-413-6410.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast and have a happy holiday.
Thanks, Polly. It was great talking to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.